Hey guys, what's going on? So it's been a pretty busy day for me today. I literally woke up this morning, got through my morning routine, I just did my daily forecast. Didn't quite get to save it to my Notion, which is basically a third-party platform that I use to kind of just put into my kind of daily forecast journal. And was about to save the screenshots to the note. Ran out of time because I had to walk my dogs, and then I was flying all the way to the airport. I mean, not flying to the airport, literally just driving to the airport, and then had to pick up my family and then drop them off at their place where they're staying, and then obviously get the car and everything. So by the time I finished that, it was kind of like 5 o'clock. So yeah, it was a pretty crazy one. But this is one of the reasons why having a morning routine is really good, because even though I had all of that, I did manage to get through a fairly good amount of things in the morning. And then come around about this time, I can now kind of just go through everything else in my day routine. I am a little bit further back in my day though, so it's days like this where I accept the fact that I won't be able to complete everything, and it may just be one of those days where, you know, it is what it is, but accepting that and knowing that you can't complete your daily routines is really good. But anyway, jumping straight into it, we'll have a little look at the market. So starting with the DXY, we can see that we are pretty much on that decline. We've broken below this level, which we always knew was a possibility, but this isn't an area where we think immediately short. It's possible, but we need to take a message from the market if we are going to look to go short. This can still be a part of something different, because it now gives us an opportunity to think about, if that wasn't the gameplay and we then evolved into something else, what else could form? And then straight away, this kind of just comes to my attention when we see something like that. And I take this, maybe just go with the parallel sense of it, look at it a little bit like that. And that's a possibility as well. Not for the upside, but as the running channel to the downside. I am not majorly favorable for this though, I'll be honest with you. But we understand that that's a possibility. We also understand that this could just be somewhat evolved, and we can look at it a bit like this, and we may still see what we're looking for. It can even be a little bit more complicated. I wouldn't really go with a complicated pattern at this point. I would then keep it somewhat straightforward, but understanding that there's variations that we can play around with. I mean, this could become a little bit larger than we expected, who knows. It's one that I think just needs a bit of time. Let's wait and take a message from the market. We've broken this low, we're now trading below it. Let's see what happens. It may just be a time where we begin to sell. It may have just been, it didn't come up for the third touch. It is what it is. But overall, this could turn into an expanding as well. So be aware that that is a possibility. We don't always have to, come for the third touch. And this is a great lesson in itself as well. But it's now what you do after that matters, because on one hand, psychologically, you can be a bit like, oh, I didn't get the trade up here, or I missed it and now it's selling off. Well, the other hand is we've broken this low, and we can just keep it a little bit more simple. Most likely go into the 4 hour and look for some sort of continuation. Something like this could be very interesting for the sell. And I wouldn't cross that off at all. If you had something like that with equal spacing, a 1, 2, 3, large enough, that could accumulate enough volume to just continue this massive push lower. But at the same time, understand that this can develop into something else and make its way back up. One strong bull candle straight back up here, it's a game changer. Looking at the next one, we have the JP225. Now with the JP225, we did see the potential for the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. It did get a little bit more messy there, but look at it two ways. We still have the head and shoulders there, and you can see this as a retest. So you have left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Maybe if you want to take it a little bit, could be a bit more steep, right? So this is the other bit I was looking at, where we have this over here, and then we can look at it more so like this, and look at it to kind of just come up and retest this section here. But if this is really going to pull back, we're then just going to see this just really just start to go. So I would say this is your major line in the sand, this sort of area here, where we're kind of just testing this. But I think more likely we could look at something more so in this angle. I think this is a little bit more clean. It's not the easiest one to kind of break through, but this is a very common trait of head and shoulders. Very, very common. You know, we kind of push, we come back, we retest, and then we sell off. I've seen it hundreds of times through back testing. Sorry, don't mind me, I'm sweating. Honestly, I'm sweating like crazy right now. Obviously can't give up the hat, love my hat. It is what it is. I'm just gonna have to sweat it through this episode. JP225, now I'm waiting for a little bit more structure on this, I'll be very honest with you. We are looking pretty good on the daily, we're seeing this commit. I don't know if I'm looking for them small tight flags, to be honest. Also, we're kind of sitting in this sort of interesting area. It could just accumulate enough volume and start pulling back up. It's also a possibility, but with the way the DXY is looking, I wouldn't be surprised if we are continuing with that major sell. I'm seeing it across the board with all US related bets, especially USD Swiss. Swiss yen, we're getting that bull momentum coming into the market. Remember, we are above and creating all-time highs. We don't have to sell off just yet. We can still push, continue. We can continue till September and then start selling off. We just have to be aware of it and take a message to the market. If we're seeing continuation like we're seeing right now, we can then say, okay, let's wait and see. And if we get bull momentum, we get bull momentum. We look for continuation. Then you start drilling into the lower time frame and you see that, okay, this is majorly corrective. It's very likely we might pull back. We saw that we had a little bit here and we're just continuing. If we drill into the hourly, there wasn't really any confirmation there. 15-minute, perhaps in here there was an opportunity, but then again, at what risk, right? You risk this turning into a flag to continue lower. It's just a bit of a high risk trade, but in the grand scheme of things, we can see why it's coming back up here. This could scoop, tap into this zone and then sell off, and then we have the potential for the sell, but we just have to wait and see how that shapes up. More likely looking like a long. New Zealand yen though, guys, honestly, the long is just as good as the short. There was a really good opportunity here when we broke the expanding. This was still looking like a phase line entry to the short, but when we broke above, this was looking very clear to the upside momentum. And now it's becoming crystal clear that if we look at this on the 4 hour, we're not ready to sell. This has now become an expanding in this area, and it's much larger than we thought originally. So keep that in mind. Oh god, I'm sweating like crazy. Okay, let me get a sip of that water. I always like to add like fresh juice to my water, just a splash, you know, give it a little bit of flavor. Better than squash. Squash has always got so much random stuff in it where you can get 100% natural juice. Add it in, sponsored by Life. Okay, so EJ is an interesting one too. You know, I am looking at this for the potential of a long. I'm not 100% sure on this just yet, but I'm looking at it and I'm seeing that other yen pairs going long. It's possible, you know, we are in that sort of override zone of this little inflection point over here, and I think that's why we've kind of just stalled. It's interesting because there's two ways I'm looking at this. Either this majorly sells off, or this was the low that I've highlighted and we start pulling back from here. Looking at it on the 4 hour, it's possible. You know, it doesn't have to move aggressively. This pair can just trickle, and next thing you know, we're all the way up here trading into this new high. I think this is one I'd be patient for sure. If you go to the 15, it does look like, you know, we tapped into this little bit of liquidity. We didn't quite tap into this fully, but we tapped into it, pushed down, created a little bit of a flag. You have that sort of head and shoulders feel where you could argue the point that, you know, you have this and then you pushed up, came back down, you had this sort of corrective squeeze towards it, and now we're coming in to fill that and then maybe create something. But I strongly think that this is going to go long. Honestly, strongly. I think positioning over here, something like that, maybe not the best, but you could do that, but that's not really a trade, I'll be honest with you. That's not your typical trade. Looking at something like this, you can't really size up any sort of structure. Yeah, it's not easy, honestly. I would wait for this one. I don't think there's a trade in there just yet. I think this squeeze could go on for some time. Yeah, we're just squeezing, honestly, guys. This can just go to here, come back up, continue, come back up, continue, and next thing you know, like I said, you're trading all the way back up here correctively, and then when everything shapes up, boom, you just get a massive sell-off. But hey, there wasn't really much there. I think there was a nice trade on GJ, but we don't have that on watch, so we're not going to go through it. Aussie New Zealand, so whilst this is slowly making its way to where it needs, I think we're going to get this sort of move here, maybe tap into this little bit of liquidity over here, push up, and then we look for a push down, flag back into this, and we go. That's the real gameplay for Aussie New Zealand. GA was nice. There was one yesterday. If you were up between 5 and 2 a.m. personally, those are hours where I'm not trading. I kind of go off and do some other evening routine stuff, but there was a trade there for sure. Shaped up, played out. It's right, it ran roughly around about a 10% trade there, so you know, that's banging. And then there was another opportunity up here, which personally I didn't really kind of see it like at first. I mean, I saw this and I was like, maybe, but by the time I saw it, it was here. And really and truly, I could have taken advantage of that. You know, time and time again, I'm always put off by these 42 pip stop losses, and I think positioning, I could get something better. But then you look at it like that, you know, that's still 6% on the table that you just kind of just said, nah, positioning is not good enough for me, so I'm going to take something else. So that's probably something I'm going to go back and work on for myself, because I'll be honest with you, like, hey, sometimes taking a few percent is good. Like, you know, don't be a perfectionist and only look for perfection. If you can squeeze in a few percent here and there whilst protecting yourself and the quality is there, I think it's worth it. You know, and then the grand scheme of things, that could run into a 15, 20, 30, 40% trade, and the next thing you know, you're kind of beating yourself up about it. This one's somewhat evolved now. I think I'm looking at it more so like this, just not ready to take it. Yeah, it's just one of those ones where I think it's going to play with people. I think it's more so looking like it's just going to keep going higher. Australian US dollar, not ready for this sale, not just yet. Maybe we might see it push up, get somewhere around about here, tap into this liquidity, and then we see a lot of the US related pairs start to shift. But at the same time, we could even move up into this area. So we have this sort of point here where I would look at something like that, and you could look at something like this for the outer structure, where I think that's a very important aspect of this massive picture here, that this could be a part of this bigger move. And then I would realistically look at something like this down here and say, okay, that's the larger flag, it's literally consumed in that section, and that would make sense for the move to the downside. Who knows? I mean, that's a massive trade in itself. We would have to wait and evaluate, patient. There's a little bit of liquidity over there. Most likely it could even gravitate to this point. So we have to be aware that even if we push up, we carry on, we get to this point, we'll still be patient to wait for this point. And then if we start pushing up even more aggressively, there's your next point, and so forth. So it's not the best of trades in the world yet. And yeah, we have EuroCAD. Now EuroCAD, I'm still waiting for the short on this, to be honest. I want to see us break below this ray line. I think it's very likely that because we've pushed all the way up here, it's possible we might tap into this little bit of liquidity now. But more so, I'm more interested to see if we can break back in here. So I want to see this kind of impulse push, create something like that, and then we're in for this, you know, not like that, but obviously in here with the flag, next flag, so next whatever. But that's what I'm waiting for. Just want to see that solid push down and the flag. USD Swiss. So this is what I said, the same as price may be incorrect. Our engines are already investigating the problem. Interesting. Engines. Okay. So USD Swiss is literally dropping off the face of the earth right now. We are moving below this level here. It looks like we're gravitating to this point here. Oops. I think this point down here. It's possible that it just sells off and goes there. Hey, whatever, man, let it do its thing. I'm not involved in it, but if you got involved in Swiss yen, bloody hell, that is looking nice. You know, that drop off is nice, man. I wish I kind of did have a position open on there. There was this sort of section. I wasn't too convinced of it. Wasn't married to it. Couldn't really see it. There was these sort of sections here, but it wasn't a me trade, you know. I couldn't jump out and say, hey, that's a sick trade, so it's just easily missed. There's Euro GBP. I don't think Euro GBP is near ready just yet. It's very impulsive and messy, so for that reason I think I'm just happy to stay out of this, because I just think that it just has a lot of room to really play with people, you know, and I don't want to be in this very playful price action. I think this very playful price action can really mess people up, so I'm happy to leave that one and let it do its thing. Then I have GBP New Zealand. I don't even know if this is the structure. I think I'm going to leave it on for now, but really and truly it's just messy. It's really messy. I want to see a clear push down now, continuation, downwards movement, breaking this low. I think that's when I'll be interested, so I'm not interested in this just yet. And Euro US dollar, I think this is the creme de la creme off the watch list at the moment. So we've moved into the high value area. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of liquidity sitting here right now, right? Because price is stalled here and it's come to an all-time high. We know that the nature for these pairs is obviously these liquidity areas, and I wouldn't be surprised if we push up a little bit higher and then we sell off just to take out people before we go. There is some news upcoming tomorrow, so that could be a catalyst for price to really move, but I'll be very much aware for 1:30 UK time tomorrow and just kind of see how that kind of moves the market. Is that really going to be the major news that causes this to push lower or push up and then push down? We'll have to wait and see. But certainly after we have that, we're going to see some shifts in the market. So I don't know if the news is enough, but it could just cause price to move, you know, and that's what we want. Or maybe we might be waiting till Thursday or Friday, who knows. You know what, it's just news creates volatility, doesn't create market direction or anything. We just need to take a message from the market. And then I do have the soft watch gold. Yeah, gold is just doing its thing, man. It's in this messy version of itself. Corrective, push up, sort of taps into an area, maybe sells off, who knows. I'm not really bothered about gold. It was looking nice up until we pushed above this, and that was due to news. If we had that and we had a rejection, started selling, it would have been nice. Had to wait for the 1:30 news to hit. When the news hit, we started moving, and well, yeah, it just flew over here. You can see around about 1:30, boom, price just flew up, took out all of those people looking to short, and it is what it is, man. That's the market. So overall, that's basically the watch list and wildcards for this week. I don't think there's much. Markets have been very, very crappy since I've been back. A lot happened though, honestly. Yesterday, mad positions, made 7% on Aussie New Zealand and Aussie US dollar. Out of the market now. Look at that. Made it on the sell, and then we've just corrected and made our way all the way back up. And then same with this one. Made it on, not this one, on this one, made it on the sell over here, and then we corrected and came back up. So hey, listen, at the end of the day, you can make money doing a lot of things. You know, you don't have to be jumping into every single opportunity. You can just wait for something that shapes up and meets your plan and just take it. On another day, there may be nothing, you know, and then you start trading some random piece of price action because you're married to it or you're convinced. Next thing you know, you're making no money. So it's the small things that matter. Consistency, you know. On a different day, you can take a trade in here, and let's say you are patient enough and you waited and waited and waited, and even with a 16 pip stop loss, you saw this, you saw price came back up. You could have maybe squeezed out 4% there, but let's say you were conservative and waited and you knew it's possible, and price broke below here, you stuck your stop loss around about here, came out of the market with 5.9. Fair enough, you know. Same situation over here, you could have probably squeezed that entire, to be fair. You could have done a 10. Same situation, would have had this big corrective price, you would have probably kept it around about here just in case it came for a third touch, dropped off, I think when this price went aggressive, you would have been managing a little bit different, and you probably would have come out with about 10%. See, the management would have been slightly different because you have more percent on the table, and that's something that I realized, that when you have more percent on the table, you're a little bit more aggressive with management, which makes sense because you don't want to be putting too much back in the market. But overall, potential to walk away was around about 15%, so the difference there was massive. There wasn't really any trades up here, but even so, that shows over a period of Monday the 10th, then the next day there was another trade, and then kind of just sold off. But hey, listen, you wait for these, you make the big monies. So at the end of the day, everyone has the possibility to be making that P, and we're gonna make it. So leave today with the knowledge that patience is key. The markets can look a bit choppy today, so you gotta wait till tomorrow. But when the time is right, you execute, it meets your plan, it fits the way you want to trade, you take your trade, and even if you walk away with a little bit less, right, and you walk away with 2.8%, still 2.8%, but you were patient, you were disciplined, and you were focused, and you were able to either walk away with 2.8% plus an additional 3%. You were smart enough, you were patient, you were agile. Instead of thinking, oh, I could have walked away with 14, 15, 18, well, you walked away with 6 or 5. And at the end of the day, you did it with a consistent, you did it with a great mindset, you did it by following your plan. You didn't FOMO and take all these other random ones. You just took what you felt was right, and it was clear to you. It jumped out, it spoke to you, you were happy with it. You're happy to take the risk. You took it, it played out. It is what it is, man. And that's trading. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.